Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 30. I cannot believe I've done that many in such a short time, but it's completely intentional, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. And this is just an episode that I know I am going to thoroughly enjoy again. My guest today, my third of the day, threes. We'll talk about that. I know you're a great believer in the number 3, Dolly. Welcome to the show, the fabulous Dolly Cina. How are you, Dolly?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much, Jake. I'm really excited to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure having you here. You are coming at us live from Colorado Springs, where it is, if my numbers are right, 10 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Good. I've been struggling with the times recently because for some reason that I don't really like, but it happens, Australia decides to change its clocks just before the rest of the world, which probably pertains to the reason why we had to reschedule this a few times, right? Because I kept getting the times wrong. But it's yeah, it's 3 in the afternoon here now in Melbourne. Now, we're going to be talking today, we're going to crack this wide open, aren't we, Dolly? Something that we call the universal truth. And we're going to be really talking about that and kind of waking you guys up to it. So hold on tight and get ready for the ride, because it is going to be a ride. Now, a few months ago, my life really has dramatically changed this year. As probably many of you know, if you've listened to this show before, I chose to seek out Les Brown as a mentor, and it took me really years, and it wasn't until this year, and in fact that COVID-19 made it possible, that Les Brown was a lot more available, because of course he's not traveling around the world. No one can really travel on that scale at the moment, and he decided himself that he wanted to open up his training and make it in a kind of one-to-many format, working with a man called John Tallarico, a great friend of Dolly's, and so a man who's quickly becoming a great friend of mine, known as the Connector, who facilitated this for Les. And really, I seized the opportunity. I got a chance to speak at the Power Voice Summit. This led to furthering some training with John, which I now am very fond of, and it's called Thinking into Results. Now, I am a student of this. I'm on the 4th chapter. However, Dolly is a teacher and a consultant of this, aren't you, Dolly?
I am. Thank you so much. And I also still believe that I'm a student as well.
I suppose that's a very good way to look at it, right? It's I read something once that says the journey of personal development is a road that just never ends. And it scared me a little bit, to be honest with you, Dolly, because I thought, wow, I'm just getting started on the road, and if it never ends, then maybe I've let myself in here for more work than I've bargained for. But now it doesn't scare me. Now I understand it, and I know that by doing the work, by putting the work into myself, becoming more aware of myself and who I am, and really digging deep into who I am. And I am more than just my name and the things that I have done and the things that I have been, but who am I now in the present, and diving, like really drilling down into that. And yeah, it is a journey. Would you agree with me? It's a road that never ends, the journey of personal development.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And actually, like you, I think I was also really scared, because it truly is. The growth is infinite. Our spirit truly is seeking fuller expression and expansion. And even our mentor, Bob Proctor, he also says that he's a student of the material, and he's been studying it for 58 years. And one of the greatest things that he said is that it only gets better. We think that it's really good now. You and I talked about it prior to getting on the podcast. And there's so many amazing things that you have the things that you've accomplished, right? Just so incredibly amazing. And it only gets better. It only continues to get better as you discover who you really are.
Yeah. And it is. I don't want to dwell on it, but I'm going to mention it one more time, because the fact that it is scary. And I think, why is it scary? For me, it's scary because it takes you to a place where you have to expose yourself to yourself. And that place is very vulnerable. And, particularly when you're writing down about yourself a lot, you're journaling, you're answering questions that perhaps you've never asked of yourself. You might have asked them of others, which I find is interesting, but you've never asked them of yourself. And yeah, that place of vulnerability and exposure. But no risk, no reward, right? And when you put yourself in the place and you don't give yourself any other way out, you put yourself in a road, you know, we call it a cul-de-sac in the UK. I have no idea what you would call it in America, but it's essentially a road that you get to, and there's no other way out than the way you came in.
Yep, no, it's the same thing here too. When you said cul-de-sac, that's exactly what I had visualized as well, but I've never heard it said that way before.
Well, I've never heard it said that way. It just kind of came out on the hop there, on the fly. And that's why I love doing these things, because, you know, having deep, meaningful conversations with people like yourself, these things come out of us. And in fact, it's funny because I do these episodes so people can share their story and have their voice heard. And I think that's really, really important, particularly in this time. But through doing them, there's some kind of soothing value in it, you know, that for me, I'm exploring myself within this and the conversations that we have. So tell me, Dolly, how long have you kind of been a consultant for Thinking into Results?
Yeah, that's it's now been, I suppose, being in October, it'll almost be 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe how fast that's really gone. But it does also seem like a lot longer, you know, than just the 3 years that it has been. My awakening, however, to true transformation, the metamorphosis that people really truly can change, that's been about 3.5 years. But it really has moved in quantum leaps really, really fast. And
what originally kind of, how did you find out about it? What led you to the place of finding out about it?
That's a great question. You know, the story comes out differently each time I share it. For me, I think it's important for your audience to know that I wasn't raised around personal development. I was actually raised to believe that this was, you know, hippie woo-woo. Sure, you can feel your way into things. Yet 3.5 years ago, it's actually March of 2017, I had hit rock bottom. And I was living, you know, as a kid, I always believed that there was something really wonderful that was going to happen, something really great, but I didn't really understand what that meant. And I was 36 at the time, and none of those things had happened. And the way I describe it is I felt that God had pooped on me. Like, he never gave me any talent. I was, you know, I was a codependent. I was a people pleaser. And so I really was allowing the outside environment to control me. So I never knew who I was and what my purpose or why I was here, you know, and all the jobs that I'd ever had were entry-level positions, entry jobs. So the thought of ever being a leader or a supervisor in anything, I guess you could say that I just couldn't think beyond where my mindset was set at. And I never finished anything I'd ever really started either. Not because I was dumb, but because I suppose you could almost say I just got bored with it, and or like there wasn't a drive. So, you know, I'm trying, you know, it's interesting. I'm kind of getting a little bit emotional like talking about it, which is quite odd because I've shared this story so many times. But like I said, I did hit that rock bottom, and it came to a point in my life where I was drinking every single day. I was addicted to cigarettes, and I was on antidepressants. And, you know, again, I had surrounded myself being a giver. I had surrounded myself with a lot of takers, and I just didn't understand. You know, I felt like I knew I wasn't perfect, but I just kept wondering to God, like, why do I keep surrounding myself with these types of people? And will this ever really change? So my first point of contact into personal development, Jake, was Bob Proctor. And what I want to say to you is that it was a moment, I remember still very clearly, it was an emotional impact for me, where I can still visualize where I was at in my basement. And I had just had it. You know, I just didn't know what direction to go. I knew my marriage was on the outskirts of out. I couldn't take care of my 2 young children, you know, earning the type of money that I was earning. And as a matter of fact, at the time I was a stay-at-home mom. So I prayed, I screamed almost to God saying, whatever it is that you send me, I promise that I'll pay attention. And it was Bob Proctor. It was a suggested YouTube video from Bob Proctor. And it wasn't from the movie The Secret. As a matter of fact, I'd never seen the movie. I didn't even know who this man was. And if I were to share it with you what video it is, it's from like the 1980s. So Bob Proctor had these huge glasses on. He looks like a used car salesman. I didn't relate to him at all in the beginning as far as the physical appearance of things. but something in me, there was this pull that told me to click on the video. And it was what he said that really, you could say it just lit up everything within me. It was almost like an awakening. And what he said, and apparently I'm not the only one this impacted, but what he said is he said, if I want to be free, I have to be me. Not the me that my kids think I should be, not the me that my spouse thinks I should be, and not the me that you think I should be. If I want to be free, I have to be me. So I better know who me is. That was the first big explosion right inside within me.
Right.
Then he said, you don't die and become spirit. You are spirit, and you're having a human experience. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
I've never heard that one before. That is profound, to say the least.
Well, and then from there, it's almost, you could say I did what a lot of people did. You know, I watched every YouTube video he had ever created. And not knowing the personal development world, I didn't even know who Tony Robbins was. I didn't watch Oprah. I didn't watch, Ellen DeGeneres. I watched a lot of, I don't know if you have this show in Australia, but I would watch Jerry Springer. I watched you do, okay. And
Jerry Springer's got to be worldwide.
Right.
He's not, if he's not.
Well, that's the kind of shows that I was watching it. I think it made me feel better. Yeah. And then that's how I discovered everyone else. I discovered Les Brown, Jim Rohn, and then all of a sudden, Oprah was speaking the language, Denzel Washington, Will Smith, Matthew McConaughey. And I'm going, what do these guys know that I don't seem to know? And I just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. And from there, I made a committed decision. The person that spoke to me the loudest at the time was Bob Proctor. And he said you could have and be and do whatever it is that you desire. And I didn't believe him at the time, but he kept saying, borrow my belief until it becomes your own. And if you do exactly what I tell you to do, in 6 months, it'll take a telescope to see how far you've come. And I started doing that. And within a month, Jake, all the habits that I just mentioned to you, I shifted them. And
Wow.
I didn't understand what had happened then. I do now, in that the neurological pathways, the way the habitual behaviors that I had, they died. And I created new neurological pathways. So you could say it was a rebirth, right? And I didn't relate to who I was anymore. And it really scared people that were around me. It really scared them watching the light work within me.
Did it scare you?
Wow, well, a part of me, it did. That's a great question. No one's ever asked me that before. I believe that it did because I wondered if I'd ever go back, because I didn't know what was happening at the time. So we see people, right, making these changes, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make this change. I'm going to release this weight, or I'm going to quit smoking, or I'm going to quit drinking. And they do it for a while, but then they end up going back to their old habitual behaviors again. So yeah, I believe that there was a part of me that wondered, will I ever go back? Because I had attempted to try. I had been smoking actually since I was 13. I was 36. So that's a long time to be smoking cigarettes.
I was about to ask you how long you'd been, had some of these bad habits for, and that's incredible is the only word that comes to my mind for it, that you had some of those, what you perceived and have admitted to say bad habits for so long, but within a month, 4 weeks of just this new way of learning and approaching things, you had let them go and really freed yourself.
Well, and from there, what I'd like to share, if I could, just in that that was not even the miracle for me. It was what was happening within and inside of me, but I didn't know how to speak that language yet. So how I often describe it is, it was like there was tar being lifted off my heart, and I could start breathing again. Things were lighter all of a sudden, and I had hope, and I thought, oh my gosh, maybe it isn't so bad here after all. Right. And I made a committed decision, Jake, that I was going to meet Bob, because he said that you could have him be and do whatever it is that you wanted. So I thought, oh, well, I'm going to meet him. And not only am I going to meet him, I'm going to go to his house. And that's exactly what I did. And I moved in such speed. Yeah. When they say that, I heard this from a great mentor, and he said, when you're interested in doing something, you'll do it when it's convenient. But when you're committed, you'll do whatever it takes. And I was committed. I was all in. And some people will say, well, you're at rock bottom. And, you know, as Les Brown, our other mentor, states, you know, when you land on your back, you know, there's that hope. I'm not quoting him that great yet right now, but I think that everyone understands, like, you can get back up. So that's exactly what I did. I met Bob at a program called The Matrix. And that, yes. Have you seen that movie?
I've seen the movie, yes. I have no idea what the program's about, though.
Oh, yes. Well, you know, that was, for me, to be honest with you, the investment that I had made, I seriously believed that a spaceship was going to come pick me up, because people often say Dolly's about to leave the planet here. But no, I really believe that, because I couldn't understand that people would spend this kind of money. And I didn't have the conscious awareness then what it meant to invest in yourself. But I just did whatever Bob kept telling me to do. And I made that committed decision, and ask and you shall receive. And the thing of it was, the path was laid out for me, and I was able to manifest the money, so to speak. And I was flying out to Toronto. So this is how fast it kind of went. March of 2017 was my awakening. By August, I was flying to Toronto, Canada, to meet with Bob Proctor in his home. And that is actually where I met John Tellerico.
Got it. Yeah, that is quick. That is very quick.
It is. And then I became a consultant a month later.
Yeah. Wow. Very quick. You know, it's it's interesting, because I was thinking about what you said there about, you know, the kind of finance side of it, and the spending side. And, you know, I can share with you and the audience that when I invested in particularly thinking into results training, it was probably the biggest amount of money I'd singly spent on anything at that point in my life. And I was aware it was a big amount of money. I, fortunately enough, already had the money saved up, but it didn't stop me thinking whether I did have it or I didn't have it. It probably wouldn't have stopped me thinking about making the decision. You know, I thought about it 2 or 3 times, and then I heard someone say, in fact, it was John who said, you know, it's not really about, you know, the numbers, the money that you're investing. It's about the potential it's going to give you. And wow, he was really right, because it's not just for me. It's not just the learning and all the lessons that come with it. And really, I'm only just getting started in it. I'm kind of at the 4th lesson, as we said. It's the network. You know, it's the network of people, because I started to think I was crazy after years of like personal development and journaling and being in this place, that I really couldn't find many other people, only a handful of people that were on my radar that thought and believed the same things. Then when I got involved with this training, I found I'm not crazy. There's a whole bunch of people, and here they are. Here's my tribe that I've been looking for, and you know, they're going for the same things. Not all exactly the same things, but they're all driven and they're all motivated and they're all happy to help you. And instantly, like, I mean literally instantly, my ability to earn more just went tenfold. You know, there were some big goals I had for my business to expand it globally, and through the network of this course, it's just brought it to happen so much quicker. So it's not about the financial investment. It's about, you know, the multiplication of what your investment is going to mean, not just for you financially, you know, for your connections, for your physical health, for your mental health, which is you know, a big part of it. This is a time when a lot of people are struggling with the mental health, and I think it's important not to be in denial of that. And actually, you know, I'm going to share this right now. I've really only shared this once before. I was in a massive denial about this whole COVID-19 thing. You know, I was very blokey about it, very manly about it. Oh yeah, it's all fine. Like, in a couple of months, this stuff will be over. Fortunately, it really didn't affect my career so much. Actually, it really bolstered my career, because as a plumber, a lot more people were spending time at home. And that meant that, you know, some of them were still getting the money coming in from other sources or the government, and they were sat at home thinking, oh, well, you know, we'll get the bathroom done or the heating done that we've wanted to get fixed for years. So for me, my work exploded in that regard, and in my online businesses that I have, it exploded in that regard too. So I was very in denial about it, and I was very cold and kind of almost got resentful to the people around me that it was affecting. It was a terribly bad attitude to have, and it wasn't really until if I'm really truly honest, I would say it was in the last few weeks that I became to the reality that, look, this was affecting me. And it, of course, you know, it has its effect on everyone. They're not always as apparent as others, but, you know, it's a dangerous space to be in denial. And this course, Thinking into Results, has massively, massively helped me get out of that place of denial and into a place of, look, Jake, it's okay, you know, to not feel good. It's okay to not be vulnerable. But, you know, what's more important is to look behind what them reasons are and why do you feel that way? You know, becoming self-aware and realizing that I have the power within me to change it. You know, and it's no one else's responsibility to do that. Responsibilities are, I think that's chapter 3. I've got to be careful because I don't want to give too much of it away, right? But I'm sure I'm not going to. But responsibility is chapter 3, and I can't remember the line exactly in there, but there's a mantra that says essentially that I am responsible for me, everything in my life, and my results. Now, part of my denial was that I would put that responsibility kind of onto other people, you know, not be responsible for my own stuff. And again, it's quite a dangerous place to be. So, yeah, the power of self-awareness and decision making, and that decision being that, look, I wasn't in a great place, and it's fine to admit that and make the decision that I'm going to change it, because, you know, the change and the power of the change is within you. It's your responsibility. It's not anyone else's, right?
Absolutely. And it's you taking your power back too. I spent, you know, the most of my life thinking that I could change others. And, you know, I thought if anyone could change anyone, I could do it because I can change. So surely I could change other people. I think that the greatest, well, one of the greatest news about all of this truly was in that I can continue to become my highest, greatest self. And it's so incredibly freeing when you can be transparent about, you know, for me, it was really scary to share with others who I was before, those habitual behaviors. But then I realized that wasn't actually who I was. There was so much more. And the self discovery, right? Know thyself. It's it's so incredibly amazing. Our mentor often says, you know, when we say, "Oh, I know," you know, I've studied thinking into results for 3 years now, and even now, I still hear things that I've never heard before. And you know, when people come to him and they'll say, "Yeah, I already know this stuff," he'll say, "Well, you know it, but only from your level of awareness. You don't understand it from my level of awareness." And what's great about that too is in that the more we discover what we're really meant to do here, who we really are, we start to come to realize just how amazing and how supernatural, you know, we have this ability to co-create and create the environment that we want to live in. And so, yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. Taking responsibility is taking your power back.
It is taking that power back, and, you know, there's a difference between being responsible for and being responsible to, and I mean, that's a whole other thing. But as I said, I am on lesson 4 at the moment. And in lesson 4, I got introduced to a new best friend of mine. And I was telling you before off camera how I have a trick where I have a whiteboard marker, and I like to write on my bathroom mirror things that, you know, affirmations, little things I know I need to get done for the day. And there's a special guest on my bathroom mirror at the moment. There's also a special guest right there behind you. Remember, your right is your left and your left is your right. So it's, I think that's your left. Am I right?
You're right.
Well, but that guy up there, the secret genie, is a special guest on my bathroom mirror at the moment. And you know, it really talks about what is your mind. You know, everyone thinks of the brain when you think of the mind, right? Which is, I can understand and why you would think of that, because you would think that that's where all your thoughts come from, and that's where the mind, the brain and the mind are one and the same. But and you know what, Dolly, I'll be honest with you, I'm still getting used to the fact that that isn't the case, and that's why I keep drawing this little fella, and remembering that, you know, when I see him, that is me, and vice versa. So maybe you want to talk a little bit more about the secret genie.
Yeah, well, you know, like Bob Proctor, he says that was the most valuable lesson that he had ever learned was the stick man, the genie. And the genie truly is us. we're the genie, and knowing and understanding that the subconscious mind is the universal mind, and there's so much power in that, and having a drawing for it. As Bob says, we think in pictures.
Mm,
You're going to probably, as we continue this podcast, you're going to see me pulling from movies just because I'm very visual. We all are.
mm,
And, to know and to see it in the way that we're learning it, it really does satisfy the logical parts of our mind so that we can really see what's, for example, when you were talking about writing the affirmations, there's a lot of people journaling, there's a lot of people doing these things, and yet they're still not getting the results. And I think it's because there needs to be that next how do I want to put that? I'm seeing the visual, but the words aren't quite coming out. But it really helps in seeing it drawn out. Like you said, that's your buddy on your mirror. So
mm.
it really truly is powerful, the conscious and the subconscious mind, and being able to reprogram, the limiting beliefs, the part of us that isn't real.
Mm. And you're absolutely right. We think in pictures. So when we draw those pictures out, and those pictures, further back from that, we learn in pictures, right? What do you do when you're a child, when you're a toddler at school? I'm sure they do it the same way in the US. They do it in the UK. You've got A, B, C, and you have them all around the classroom, the 24 letters. There is 24 letters in the alphabet, right?
So
Thank goodness. Hopefully there is. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. You've got A, B, C, and you have them all around the classroom, and A will have a picture of an apple, and B might have a picture of a banana, and so on and so on. And we don't just think in pictures, but we learn in pictures. And having that picture as a representation of the mind for me made things a whole lot clearer. Something else I want to talk about is repetition, right? And you said that you've been studying this for 3 years now, right? You still class yourself as a student of it, although you're a teacher of it as well, which I think is a fantastic way to look at it. But the repetition of it, right? You have to, we learn by repeating again and again and again and again. And that kind of sounds like a lot of work to people, perhaps too much work to some people. But the rewards from it, and I didn't understand it at first. I was like, well, do I have to keep doing it again? Can't I just do it once and maybe I'll get the value from it? And I did it once and nothing happened. So I thought, okay, well then I'll have to keep doing it. I have to keep doing it. And there's kind of the two ways that I understand it that we learn things. One is like you pertained to earlier, when you're in the basement there and there was that aha moment with that video you watched, which is the shock value, the kind of the emotion, you could akin it to something like tragic things happen when you perhaps in a car crash, and that can affect you, massively, and you learn from it in the rest of your life. Or I know other people have it in big moments, like when they have children, right? A lot of people I know, when they have children, something happens within them and they get emotions and feelings that they've just never had before in their life. So there's that way of learning, right, which is quick and snappy. But then the other way is just repeated repetition. And you pertained to it earlier when you said, you still study this stuff now, and you'll do a lesson, read a lesson, or hear something that you've listened to or read before, but you get a value out of it that you've never got before. It's amazing, that, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, absolutely amazing. I'll be listening to Bob again and I'll go, oh my God, I don't remember him ever saying that. And I've heard this so many different ways. And going even back to the repetition, we've heard Les Brown talk about this, and it's the wax on, wax off concept. When I'm working with my clients, they'll come out and they'll say, what they'll go out and they'll say, why isn't it working, so to speak? Or the outside circumstances are now available, and they're going, they're facing life now, in a challenging way. What truly is are lessons, but it's the wax on, it's the repetition, the work that you're doing behind the scenes. Right. And then when you're out in the world, when you respond differently, because you're reprogramming the subconscious mind. So for your audience members that have seen The Matrix, if they remember when Neo is plugged in, and he's getting all that training, and he wakes up and he says, I know Kung Fu. Right. And the movie truly is a biography. And the repetition is truly key, because like you indicated, it's like, can't I just do it once and just get it? Well, we have to remember that this part of us, this subconscious mind, has been programmed for centuries. And the belief system that's been installed aren't even ours, right? We don't even question our belief systems a lot of times. And because we're running on a program, things are done unconsciously. You know, the way that we put on our clothes, the way we brush our teeth, the way we drive a stick vehicle, the way we move our hands, everything is done unconsciously. So imagine how many other things that you're reacting to that you don't even realize you're reacting to, right? And then so when we're responding, when we're making a different decision, when things are happening around us, right? That's when everything changes. So the way I like to describe it is, as we're reprogramming and as we're installing the belief system that we actually know ourselves to be, it comes from confidence to self-esteem, and then you shift and have a new personality. When you have a new personality, your entire personal reality is different. And so you're evolving and growing. So yeah, no, the repetition is absolutely key. And indicated, yep, even with that, again, I don't understand it on the levels of our mentors and leaders who've been studying it for close to 60 years, right? And if we want to collapse time, we want to do exactly what they're asking us to do. And then to piggyback on the emotional impact, I think this is really, really, really just amazing that you brought this up, because what I realized is that that's the PTSD, right? Your body memorizes certain things in an emotional impact because it wants to protect you. But what you could do too is something that I've discovered through my experience, is that when these things occur, when something traumatic happens, you can actually almost have an outer body experience, so to speak, because you can almost, right, like you can come out of it and say, I'm recognizing what's happening here, and I'm going to install something totally different. I'm going to change the way I look at all of these things. And when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. That's something Wayne Dyer says that I absolutely love. So there's portals, and as you start to raise your level of awareness and expand consciousness, you start to see beyond the veil. It's what I also like to say, like an eagle flying above a labyrinth and being able to see things that others can't yet. So I love that you mentioned that.
I love that analogy, and I think it's interesting just on the subject of repetition. And sometimes you can listen to something and pick something out that you heard that you never heard before. I don't know about you, but tell me, has that ever happened to you when you're listening to one of your favorite albums? Or like your favorite tracks? You've been listening to. I've got like an album, a Dr. Dre album that I love, 2001. I've listened to that for years. I know it inside out. I know every word. But then sometimes I'm listening to it, and I'll be like, I never heard that lyric before. And I think it's because I have a theory that it's because, and it's the same with anything that you're trying to learn in repetition, is that because at that particular time you were going through something perhaps that you'd never been through before, and that put your mindset in a place that you needed to hear that piece that you'd never heard before, because you needed to learn something that you'd never learned before. And that's why it's important to repeatedly learn, because we're not always in the same attitude, we're not always in the same state of mind each day. Of course, it's always changing and evolving, and that's why it's always important to listen again and again.
That was brilliant. That was awesome. That was so good. So
just something I've been thinking about for a while.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you agree, because when I think things like that, I'm thinking that's one of the moments when I go there and I'm thinking, oh, am I a bit crazy? Just thinking weird things like that. It's always good to find someone else that agrees with me and kind of understands what I'm saying on that.
Yeah, no, well, I agree with you in that, when Bob talks about that everything you're seeking is seeking you, like you indicated, when I first entered all of this material, I was like you, I was afraid that people would think I was crazy, because no one around me understood what I was studying, and what I was doing. As a matter of fact, I remember listening to audiobooks in the gym, and I would kind of look around to see if anybody else was listening, because I really believed that they thought I was crazy. But Jake, what I realized too on this journey is there's so many people seeking this material. They're seeking, this truth, this universal truth. Even those that are military. I have lots of clients that are prior military and have, experienced PTSD, and then they'll study some of the personal development in the reprogramming process of the military. So if they've been at war, the military will kind of work with them, and then they kind of are set off to to go off in a world that they don't understand anymore. And when they find us, they're like, oh my gosh, this is needed for everyone, right? And it really truly is. It's the truth that we need to get out to everyone if they don't know and understand it yet.
Yes, absolutely, I agree. And we've talked a lot today about the individual side of it, right, and how it's benefited us as individuals. But of course, there's another side to this. And at the moment, I scan over those chapters in the book because I'm not working on this to a team end or to use the word corporate end, which is a term I don't really like to use because it always makes me think of people sat in offices, and that's not something I would ever imagine being able to do. Nothing against people who work in offices. That's just me. I wouldn't be able to work in an office. I'd end up probably burning the place down to entertain myself. I digress. But there's a big part of the thinking into results, which is the team part. This can be done in groups, right, and in teams. I mean, do you teach to that end as well?
Well, I do a group facilitation, and to be quite honest with you, I feel that it's the most powerful. When you're surrounding yourself with like-minded, we become who we surround ourselves with. The billionaires say, show me your 5 friends and I'll tell you your future. But no, absolutely. I think there's so much power in doing this as a group, as other people are validating, especially when you feel that everything that you're doing, all the work that you're doing in the quantum field, so to speak, in a place where you cannot see the things, right? And then everyone else around you is saying, hey, you know what? I was there. I was there just last week. I was just there yesterday. Right. And they can relate and say, just keep coming, and then you see them winning and you see them lifting and you go, oh my gosh, maybe, and then because of what we learn, I don't know if you're studying the self-confidence formula and reading that out loud every day.
Right there. I can basically touch it.
Amazing. So your results this is why you have the results that you have today, why you're moving in the speed that you're moving in. And you validate that for others by being the change. And you inspire others to be that way. And in the self-confidence formula, it says to eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, cynicism. And when you can really, truly understand that, as you impress that into the subconscious mind and it becomes a part of you, as people are winning around you, rather than having those feelings towards them, you instead feel love and excitement and enthusiasm. And all you want to do is continue to have and see them and send them so much love to win. Well, what's happening too when you do that is that your body, right, the subconscious mind is memorizing that win and it becomes your win. And then it starts to seek it like a GPS, right? And then all of a sudden you're at the right place at the right time with the right people. And you're like, how did I get here? It happens organically, So yeah, no, the group setting is, and teaching it and the mastermind, being around others that want to see you winning, right? Uplifting one another.
The mastermind to me, Dolly, is so powerful it's almost frightening. And I can give a pretty much a live example of this, right? You know about the Power Voice program, right, of course, and the fact that there's a summit. I was blessed and fortunate enough to be the first person to speak at the inaugural Power Voice Summit. And through that, before that, Les advised us to form a mastermind inside that group, pick 7 people out of this group and form a little group. And I did that with some guys, and a number of us got picked to speak at the first Power Voice Summit. Now, pretty much all of the rest, apart from a couple, which I know are going to be picked at a later one, are being picked for the next one. And it's no surprise to me at all because we've all been meeting regularly outside of the actual class, practicing our material with each other, giving each other those tips and those advice. And because I did the first one, I've been able to help the guys that are doing the second one this weekend. And like you just said like you just pertain to that, when you're surrounding yourself with people that are going after the same things as you, particularly if some of them have already done the things that you are going for, they're going to be like, I was where you were at 4 weeks ago. What did you do how did you get past it? What did you do? And they're going to give you the hot tips that you need. It's just going to excel you because life isn't easy, right? I'm sure you can agree with me on that, right? So you told some of your story there, and a lot of that part wasn't easy of your life, and it's not easy. But there's nothing worse than suffering in silence and suffering alone, or trying to do it alone. It's a lot easier when you surround yourself with the right people. Is really what I'm trying to sum up there, and I probably haven't put it into words as well as I could. But
oh no, that was beautiful. No, Jake, you said that. No, you said that brilliantly. You landed that so good, and it's so true. It really is important. We do become who we surround ourselves with. And when you
Mhm.
are around other people that know and understand that when you win, I win, when I win, you win, and we're encouraging and inspiring one another to do that, to me, that's heaven on earth. That's what I was seeking in this journey as well. The things that I had written down 3.5 years ago was that I actually wanted to travel to an island of utopia or Atlantis. I'm like, where are all those amazing people? The ones that are kind and sweet, because I'd always encouraged others, but it never, I felt like I was always dimming my light. It didn't seem
Mm.
like anytime I tried to shine, it was almost like I would feel bad. People made me feel bad to want to do that. Now I've surrounded myself with people that say, you're not shining bright enough,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, even with you, right before the podcast, you were helping me stay calm and, grounded, and you were the teacher, you were the coach, and you were helping and guiding me through this. And you helped me stay calm because you were confident and you could see things in me that I couldn't see yet.
Well, you're absolutely right there, Dolly, and it's my privilege and absolute pleasure to do it. But I mean, let's pull back the curtain a little bit here, because I said to you about, and it would have been, how long are we now? We're 41 and a half minutes into this. And I said to you at the start, let's be honest, you were a little bit nervous about it. There's a little bit of a paradigm that we know we needed to shift. And I said to you, in 35 to 40 minutes time, we're going to have had heaps of fun here, and you're going to look back and think, what was I ever worried about? And now here we are 40 minutes later, and we've done exactly that.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, and
Thank
you were
you
right.
so much. Thank you for giving me your time and energy. Dolly, if people want to connect with you and learn more about thinking into results and how you can help them learn more about it, where can they find you? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I think the best way where to find me right now is I do have a group on Facebook
Mhm.
called Master Your Thinking, and that I would just say to request to join that group, and then we can kind of bridge everyone in, just to kind of see, how deep and how much further we could really go.
Sure. I've dropped that in the comments for everyone. So if you're watching, guys, now live or later, connect with Dolly via searching in Facebook, the Master Your Thinking group.
Awesome.
Dolly, it's been so good to spend some time with you. I've learned a lot today. So thank you again for your time and energy. It's really been a lot of fun. Thanks.
Oh my gosh, Jake, thank you again. It was an honor. You're amazing. Thank you.
We'll have to do it again sometime when I'm a bit further into the program.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That would be an honor again.
I'll get my time zones right next time. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night, everyone.